idolising the likes of Dennis Lilly and people like Bruce Reid as I was growing up watching them bowl. Yeah, I mean, it's the pinnacle of what we can achieve in our game. So I would have loved to play a lot more tests, but I've got that cap now and I'm pretty proud of it. I was really into little athletics as a kid, so I was track and field, sort of, that was my main sort of focus, and then just played cricket as a bit of fun on the side. Really didn't play formalised cricket until I was about 11 or 12 years old. There was plenty of good quick bowlers around in New South Wales. So as a young guy coming through, we've got the likes of Wayne Holdsworth and Phil Alley. I played a lot of second 11 games with the Cricket Academy, so I felt like I was, I'd played against a lot of Shield standard players. I felt like I was nearly good enough to play. But unfortunately in New South Wales, which is my dream to play for New South Wales, there was a long pecking order. So I was probably a fair way down at the time, whereas I went to a smaller state where the depth wasn't quite as much. And you could go there and if you performed, you'd get a game. In Western Australia, it was a great place to play, great place to live, and realised that they probably didn't have the depth that they would have liked in the fast bowling ranks. Their front line was fantastic. Joe Angel, Peter Capes, Brendan Julian, but the second tier, they probably didn't have the depth that they would have liked. So for me to move across there, I would have been well ahead of where I was here in New South Wales already. So it was a bit of a no-brainer really in terms of if I wanted to advance my cricket. Playing 2 or 3 years over there in the Shield squad and in the setup would be much better than just playing grade cricket here and then see what happened after that. I played probably 3 or 4 games for WA, so I went over there and played immediately and did okay. But I'd had a lingering sort of health issue for 2 or 3 years. I got quite a bad salmonella poisoning on the under-19s tour of India, 2 years previous. And I'd had glandular fever in year 12 at school, and I just hadn't really been able to kick that fatigue-related sort of illness that was just hanging around all the time. It wasn't stopping me playing, but it was always in the back of my mind that it was something that was there and I had to be careful with my health. And then it got to sort of Christmas time and I really just couldn't play anymore. So I got to the point where I just couldn't really function out on the field the way I needed to function to play at that level. So I had to call it quits for maybe 12 months, I guess. Go back to basics and try and really concentrate on my health. Cleaned up my diet, gave up the alcohol and the coffee and all that sort of stuff, and tried to just go really natural. And obviously saw a lot of different practitioners over the time that some helped and some didn't. But eventually, sort of 12 to 18 months later, got back on the field and started playing again, which was I never thought at some stage I thought I'd never going to play again. Almost came back with nothing to lose, just thinking, oh, I'm back in the side, I can play again. I've got nothing to lose. Yeah, so it was Christmas time, so we played half a season and had a big half a season, so I was pretty tired, still being quite young, and was coming back to see my family for Christmas. I think we had a 10 or 12 day break with no games, so we weren't required in Perth, so I jumped on a plane and was just heading back, and we were sitting on the tarmac and the plane wouldn't take off and everyone was getting everyone was a bit warm on the tarmac in Perth in December. And yeah, they stopped the plane, came on the plane and got me off and said, mate, you've been picked to play for Australia in the Boxing Day test. I had a surreal moment there. I had about half an hour by myself just in the airport. The airport was pretty empty there in Perth, where I could sort of digest the news and sort of pinch myself a little bit before sort of media turned up and sort of the whirlwind started on the way to Melbourne. I knew Justin Langer. He'd been our academy coach in '94 in Adelaide. I played against Ian Healy and Darren Lehman a few times. A couple of the other guys from New South Wales I knew, but I didn't really know them well, apart from Justin, I guess. So really I didn't know anyone. There was a bit of trepidation as to how I would be accepted as the guy who had only played 7 or 8 first-class games. But they were great. I think Ian Healy might have been the first player I saw who was in the foyer at what used to be the Hilton there in Melbourne. And he just came up to me and sort of embraced me and said, mate, welcome to the family, hope you get a game, good luck sort of thing. And he took me under his wing a little bit and made me feel comfortable straight away. I guess 3 guys fell over for me to get a game, but they were looking for someone who was bowling well at the time and bowling fast, and I guess I was lucky enough to get the call up, but it did take 3 of them to fall over. If I remember rightly, Stuart McGill played in that game, so they were talking about maybe playing 2 spinners, and obviously Funky Miller could bowl his outswingers as well, pretty handy outswingers, so very versatile cricketer. And at the time he was going great, so I sort of crossed my fingers and hope I get a game. And they pulled the covers back and it didn't really look like it was going to take a hell of a lot of turn. So they just told me on the morning that I was playing. So yeah, pretty excited from that point onwards. Probably knew we weren't going to play on day one. Like, I think we got to the anthems almost, and we're just about to walk out, and then they said, "Oh, hang on, it's raining." And then we looked at the radar and it was going to rain all day from that point onwards. So that was a bit disappointing, but it would have been nice to go out on Boxing Day and play in front of the big crowd. We came out day 2 and we bowled, and I think it was about 10 degrees again. The wind was swirling and it was sort of rain in the air, and it wasn't very pleasant, but I mean, you'd rather be there at the MCG bowling for Australia than anywhere else.
Australian Test cricketer number 380 about to perform, Matthew Nicholson.
I was under the pump a bit, I think. They sort of targeted me a little bit right from ball 1. I think my first ball was a long half volley. He was a bit nervous, and Alex Stewart, who was a good player, just pumped it through the covers. Well, welcome to Test cricket. So I was a little bit under the pump because you got McGrath, Fleming, McGill, and Nicholson. So who are you going to target? So they came pretty hard at me. So I was a little bit probably was going for 5 or 6 and over there at the start. So to get Nasser out, and we'd had a bit of a set too in the tour game as well, where he'd got 100 and I'd got 7 wickets, and we were sort of at each other in a good way for the whole game. So to get him out as well and get that first one under the belt was it was a big relief.
Assisted that first one. Oh, what a good ball! Yes, that's his first wicket. What a beautiful delivery. That's the place to bowl. Quick, just outside off stump, and probably moving away off the seam a little bit. A little nick, and young Nicholson has struck for the first time in Test cricket.
Yeah, it's just nice. I just wanted to get 1 wicket. I just didn't want to get none for 100 and disappear into oblivion. So just nice to get 1 wicket, but then to be able to contribute to the team and put us in a winning position by doing well in the second innings was a thrill, obviously. So I thought I did okay for my first game.
He's gone for it again. Third man, it's coming around, he's got it. Yes, he has. Well caught. Nicholson picks up another wicket.
You know, I'm playing my first game, and Steve Waugh, who at the time was a genius at batting with the tail. So I was just taking instruction from him. In hindsight, it's always easy, but yeah, and disappointing that we didn't win the game, and I wasn't able to contribute in a more meaningful way in the second innings with the bat. Always prided myself on my batting, so yeah, that was disappointing. But it was a dramatic sort of game, and when they offered us the light at the end there, and Stephen said, "Mate, we're not sleeping on this." I think we had 13 or 15 to get or something like that. So we kept going, and then I got out almost straight away, just playing a meaningless defensive shot.
He's got him! He's gone! It's 8 for 161. They're still in it, England.
I think Trevor Hones might have been, or Andrew Hilditch might have been chairman selectors. So he just came up to me at the end of the game, sort of half an hour after we'd lost, and I sort of put 2 and 2 together, and think, well, Shane Warne's making a lot of noise in the press saying he's going to be fit for Sydney. So Stuart McGill was bowling really well, got 5 wickets in that game. So you put 2 and 2 together and you think, well, there's only one bloke missing out for the next game, which is, mate, to be replaced by Shane Warne, it's fair enough, I reckon. I certainly think at the time I probably thought I was going to play more than 1 test. It was going pretty well, but in saying that, maybe I played when I probably hadn't really earned it, I suppose. I'd only been around for 5 minutes and there'd been a few injuries, and I sort of was a bit lucky to maybe play when I did. I thought I was bowling, I think my last probably 2 years in WA and my first 2 or 3 years back, that sort of 4 or 5 year period there, that was the best part of my career. I was bowling as fast as I ever had, and I was learning to be more consistent, and I was learning some more skills with the ball as well. So I felt like particularly the first 2 or 3 years when I got back to New South Wales, I had my best few years, consistently up the top of the wicket, taking in both forms of the game. And Steve Waugh was the captain, the Test captain at the time, and I think he was a reasonably positive about my game, and he was a good supporter of mine. So I felt like while he was captain, and various conversations had over the time, I felt like while he was captain I was still a chance to play. He retired, Ricky Ponting took over. I still thought I was going pretty well, and they sort of moved in a different direction, which is fine. Captains and selectors and what have you have their own reasons for picking different styles of players and all that sort of stuff, but I felt like I gave it my best over that period of time, and I could have played, and I was on standby a couple of times for injuries and what have you, but the players who were under a cloud came through, so I missed out. I sort of felt like if I had played at that time I would have got a decent run because I was in good form and I really knew my game well, but it wasn't to be, just didn't get another opportunity. That's the way it goes. The whole medical devices industry is based around trying to help surgeons, particularly in orthopaedics, help surgeons treat their patients better. So that's what it's all about. I started off in sales, so I moved into sales and doing foot and ankle and hand and wrist products to try and bring the latest technology to surgeons and on occasion teach them how to use the new technology. And then the last sort of 2 years, 18 months, 2 years, I've transitioned across to a medical education role. Probably suits me a little bit better, back to sort of the coaching, mentoring style role, I guess, and teaching our salespeople all about our products and all about the pathologies and the procedures that we address. Part of what our department does at Device Technologies is also do cadaver labs for surgeons to come in and use the products and practice their techniques. So yeah, it's a really interesting career, and I'll still get that little bit of coaching and mentoring that I really enjoy. I still do a little bit of coaching. I've got two or three young lads from around the Northern Beaches that I coach. And then, yeah, my own son, I've got twin boys. One of them loves his cricket, so he's a left armour, so he's only 13, but go down the park every now and then and give him a few tips as well. And I think he's going to be all right in years to come. Every now and then I'll get the bag of green out and take it to a kid's coaching session, or if someone wants to have a look at it, I even let them put it on. A lot of players don't, but it doesn't bother me. It gives them a great thrill to be able to do it. Look, it's nice to play one test and you've got that cap and all that sort of stuff, and you get the recognition and you're part of that test playing family, but I think probably what I was much more proud of is I just got the most out of myself over a long period of time. I did have a career with a fair few ups and downs like most people do. I felt like I was pretty resilient throughout it. Had some injuries, got dropped a lot, form fluctuations and what have you. Felt like to be able to play for 10 or 12 seasons, to be able to be successful in successful teams wherever I played. I felt like I was a valued member of those teams. I guess you look back at the numbers at the end, not that you do that very often, but to be successful and to be able to play for that period of time was probably my greatest pride.